Hello, everyone. Welcome again to, this is our final session. Tarsha, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here representing the Mavericks.
Thank you.
And their people. And but first, we have other big news for another basketball team here. Paige Becker's #1 draft choice.
Yay.
Coming here. Hooray. Exciting. What does that mean? Well, that's not your team, but what does that mean for you and people you know?
Well, I'm super excited to have Paige here. The Mavericks, we have a relationship with the Wings. We don't own the Wings, but we're still excited. I have a 15-year-old girl basketball player in my house, so she is so excited that Paige Beckers is in Dallas.
Wow. Yeah. It's an incredible rise in talent in the WNBA. Reinforces the whole idea of basketball as an amazing sport. So let's talk a little bit of history and start there because it's fascinating. You arrived at the Mavericks at a historic moment a few years ago. There was controversy, partly because of the organization having been exposed as a hostile work environment for women. Now, there's been some other controversy about the Mavericks, but we'll get into that in a bit, okay? We'll not shy away from things. Could you tell us about your journey from you went as a longtime people leader at AT&T, giant corporation, to the Mavericks as a colleague of the new CEO at the time, St. Marshall.
Yes.
What was that pathway like, and what was your mission when you got there?
So I'll tell you, I spent 19 years at AT&T in various functions of HR with the organization. I figured I would be retiring from HR. I had supported several different organizations and functions. I've been in IT. I supported communications, several different teams. I felt like I'd always be there. I was going to retire there. If I felt like I had gotten all the experience that I needed in one particular area, I could go somewhere else and learn a different part of the business, even though I was supporting those folks there. When Cint and I worked together at AT&T, she had left there about a year, and she'd been going about a year and a half before she accepted the job at the Mavericks. We kept in touch. I called her to congratulate her and say, oh, great, but wait a minute. I think you all have an HR job over there that's open. Tell me about it. She said, listen, I can't do anything to influence you being able to get in here. I can just simply put you in touch with who you need to talk to, and you got to do the rest. And hey, the rest is history. I've been here 7 years, so
wow,
been awesome.
So what was it? So what was the mission then? You were going to transform things, and what was it like going from such a big organization to something that's smaller but high profile?
Wow, I can say that walking into the Mavericks, having come from a 250,000 massive enterprise like AT&T, coming into the Mavericks, it was definitely like coming into a very small startup. I'll call it that. But it was culture shock for me, for sure. There was such a lack of processes and programs. All of this is from an HR perspective. And so we did have to stand up quite a bit, put a lot of things in place that were lacking when we walked into that organization.
Like they didn't really even know what HR was, right? I mean,
that's correct. That's correct. So if I just start from ground zero, there were file cabinets everywhere. And if you're familiar with AT&T is a very well-oiled machine. There are processes and automated everything at AT&T, and none of that was in place when I walked into the Mavericks. So I said, so what's your HR system of record? And they were like, those file cabinets over there. Got it. So we had to really start from ground zero, and we had a payroll system in place, and we used ADP at the time. And so we just tacked on those HR modules and those HR pieces to that. So we put in the workforce piece, we put in recruiting, performance management, all of those pieces that we
didn't have those things.
No, none of those.
And it was all do it yourself, kind of building it. So,
and I'll just add here to say that was probably one of the most fulfilling and the most challenging things about going from AT&T into the Mavericks organization. It was because there was nothing there, we were able to build it all. We were able to connect with our employees and also to see what was missing based on what the experiences that we had to say, here's what we know this organization needs, and we want to be able to put it in place. So it was challenging because it was a lot of heavy lifting. We had to start from ground zero, but it was the most rewarding because we got to build it.
And customize it to the organization. Yeah. What were some of the changes you made in structure in terms of in professionalizing it? Did you hire some new people? How do you?
Well, that was one of the first things that we had to do. We did a lot of assessments as we came in. Myself and Cent sat with every single employee in that organization and had a one-on-one with them, separately, to learn their stories, understand their skill set. So we had to do a lot of assessments. Then we looked at the numbers and we said, well, based on what you all do and some of the stories that we had heard, we didn't have enough people. Oh. So one of the first things that we had to do is we had to get staffed up appropriately. Many of the teams ran very lean to the point that nobody took vacations or just did life kind of things until the off season. And so we wanted to be able to right some of those things. We hired a whole bunch of folks and still have been doing that over the course of time. We, of course, put in those systems. We did across the entire organization, we did a compensation analysis to make sure that everybody was either at market or above market. So we did quite a bit from that perspective. We put in women's agenda we stood up, which included a women's ERG, and that was our first ERG. So we had more that were added on after that.
And that's what was needed right away.
That was correct. That was correct. So from an HR perspective, it was 2 of us for probably the first 2 years.
Wow.
And so everything we had was on paper. We put our performance management, that was on paper. Everything that we did it on paper or spreadsheets or something like that. But over the course of time, we did add a DE&I team. We already had, a couple people there in payroll. We've added business partners. We've added learning and development person. So we've had to build up since then.
Was there a bit of a culture of there's certain industries where I used to, like in magazines where I worked or Hollywood or certain places, it's like the people who are leading kind of assume well, you're in a glamorous field, it's exciting, so you need to just work yourself to death and that's your reward. I'm not saying it was quite like that, but what's it like in the sports organization where you do have, some, like on game day, people are really going extra, and how do you compensate for that?
And so I would like to tell everybody there is really nothing glamorous about it. It is exciting. There's so much passion. It's sports. So everybody has their team and everybody's passionate about it. It's not glamorous. It's a lot of hard work. As you mentioned, game day. Some people's days start at 8:30 in the morning, which is when most people come in the office. We have a game. So they're there all day. We change at work. We go over to the arena. People are grabbing lunch and dinner all together. We have like a media dining place where people will go in and eat before the games start. The games will end 10 o'clock. And then there's people that have to go and do social and videography and editing and all of that. So their days may not end until 1:30 in the morning. Whoa. Photography. And all of these things have to go out to our media outlets and we have to put it out on our site. So all this has to be done pretty much real time. Whoa. And what we really reinforce to our managers is that because these people are coming in here and putting their all in all day and on game day, we want to make sure that they have the flexibility. And I don't really believe that there's a such thing as work-life balance, but we try to provide as much of that as possible. So we provide flexibility. After game day, you're not coming in at 8:30 in the morning. Yeah. Either we allow them the flexibility to work from home, or they may not come in until around noon or so.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that leads me to wellness. You put a big emphasis on that. Mm-hmm. So what kind of message do you send out about that? Like, yes, we really support this as leaders. And then are there any individual programs or things you do that support that? So
I'm going to preface this statement by saying we use a lot of acronyms at the MAV. So just get ready because I'm going to probably have a few that I'm going to tell you today. But we implemented we launched our wellness program. It's called the MAVS Vitality Program, MVP, right? But we launched that last year. And we focus on all of the 8 dimensions of wellness, whether that's physical, that's emotional, And the mental piece goes with that as well. That's financial. We have financial sessions that we support the employees to help them with, whether that's personal budgeting, to make sure that they have their 401ks up to date. We have a very young staff. And so we want to make sure that by the time they get to my age or their point in their careers, they could be rich, maybe not rich, but they will be well established, if you will. But we have established. Yes, we have we have a huge focus on wellness and all of those dimensions. And one of our values is safety. And that's just not about physical safety. That's also about mental safety and their mental health. So we focus a lot on mental wellness. And we have 3 counselors on retainer that our employees are able to reach out to at any given time, and we pay them. Oh. So anybody can access them at any given time. And we've had that in place since we got there.
So those people are identified for staff and well known to them.
Yes.
And wow. Okay, well, now's a point in which I need to ask you about what happens when an organization makes a business decision, recent trade, that people don't like. And then the workers have to, how they may have feelings, and they may have to deal with fans and season ticket. Anyway, I'll let you take that away. Okay. How do you counsel and advise them?
We have all had to deal with our own personal feelings about the trade. Everybody loved LaCour. The city loves LaCour. The employees love LaCour. That's a part of why many of our employees are actually there, because they're huge sports fans.
Yeah.
And so we get very passionate about our people, and we love them and we connect with them. And so to see this person to leave the organization, the city obviously wasn't happy about it. Many of our employees felt the same way. They're fans as well. But what I've also come from a corporate background where there are business decisions that are made, and my job is to continue to execute on those things that I can do to support the business. And that is the advice and counsel that I have given to employees, that sure, we're fans, but these are business decisions and we have to trust the process. Part of trusting the process is to trust that we have the right leaders in place, and these leaders are making good decisions for the business, whether that's short term or long term. And what we're here to do is to do the jobs that we are entrusted with and that we're being paid to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was quite an emotional night the other night. So that was a lot of blowing off steam, it sounds like, for everybody involved. Besides, high visibility events like that, a disruption is always often in business, with mergers and takeovers, and everybody in the audience has probably been through one, or is in the process of one. You have a change of ownership. Mm-hmm. How do you, have some continuity so people don't feel all like whiplashed, and yet grow, and follow, the pathway, the new business model that might be established?
So as we talk about disruption and change management and those kinds of things, and this is where another one of my acronyms are going to come in, so y'all just bear with me. But I actually put those down so I wouldn't forget this, but I did have to have a conversation I spoke to a group of senior leaders that came out of the entertainment, event space planning, hospitality planning, as well as a conversation that I had with our employee groups as well. And we talked about change management. So here's the things that I put together around that. It's about, we have to act and we have to lead. So the ACT acronym stands for, we acknowledge the disruption. We acknowledge what it is. We have that, but here's what we're going to do.
It's not acknowledged enough, yeah.
Yep. So we acknowledge that we take care of the people. So we have care for the people, teamwork, which comes in the form of communication and collaboration. Mm-hmm. And then the lead part is we're going to leverage the data that we have and that we collect from a variety of different sources. So we want to make fast and informed decisions, and those decisions, that data is used to help us guide our strategy. We empower our people, and for me, that's empowering our leaders. So the decisions are not just being made at the C-suite, but we're empowering our leaders to make decisions on their teams, and that really gives them momentum as well.
Sense of trust.
Yeah, 100%. We have actionable goals, That's some of the low-hanging fruit. These are some of the things that we can do to really improve things right now and give people a sense of belonging and making them feel good, and the trust piece as well. And then the last piece of that is to drive long-term momentum. And for us, that's to know what your end goal really is. Our end goal is to continue to make this a great place to work, to continue to do great work in the community, and to win some championships.
Wow, great. I like the acronyms. And it sounds like you definitely didn't just sit back and watch it happen when there was a big change. Yeah. You got out there very actively. I want to ask about career advancement. While the Mavericks are not a Fortune 500 company, but are there ways, how do you find pathways for people so that they can grow, or maybe even grow outside the organization sometimes? Yeah.
So one of the things that our new CEO, his name is Rick Welch, who has an enormous and an amazing background within the industry, one of the things that he focuses on, and he says we need to be an organization of continuous learning. And so it's my team's job to really be able to help realize those things, as well as others, obviously, across the organization. But one of the things that our communications team, they've come up with anything that has to do with the Mavericks that's within the NBA, or, whether that's articles or podcasts or that kind of thing. Every day we get a list of things that he wants us to take part in. He says, and we believe it to be true, that we should know more about our business, or as much about our business and the things that are going on around us, than anybody else in the industry. So that's the first piece of that. But from an internal perspective, we have a learning platform. Mm-hmm. One of those, one piece of that is called Open Sesame. Open Sesame is a content provider that provides all of these online courses that it's tens of thousands out there, but we curate them obviously and put tracks together. That sits on top of our learning management system, which is called Bridge. And so we put tracks together for new employees, so new hires, people managers, new people managers, our what do we call them? Our high potential employees. Mm-hmm. And these are mandatory tracks that they have to go and take over the course of, a certain amount of time in this, on this system. But other things that we also offer are mentoring. We have coaching for folks. So a variety of different things. So we want to make sure that people are skilled and equipped. And this is one of the things that I took away from AT&T. They made sure that if we were on a leadership track, you could go into any part of the business and lead because you had those core skills to be a leader. And those are the kind of things that we want to make sure that we're doing for our employees as well.
Wow. Got another sort of hot button question for you, and that is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's been attacked on all different fronts, as we all know full well. Some companies have backed away from their commitments famously, Target or whoever. You're in a different situation. It seems like it's so much a part of the league, your organization, and beyond. Can you tell us how do you approach that at times like these, times like these? We just do what we do. We just do what we've always done. It is truly a part of who we are as an organization. And I challenge people, look at it this way from a sports perspective. It truly is ingrained in sports. Sports and music are two of the things that people connect with from all walks